The year is 1692. The small Puritan community of Salem, Massachusetts, is a place of deep faith and rigid social norms. Life is harsh, the wilderness is ever present, and fear of the unknown runs deep. It is against this backdrop, in a time when belief in the supernatural was commonplace, that a dark chapter in American history unfolds: the Salem witch trials. Few could have predicted the terror that would grip Salem. What began with a group of young girls exhibiting strange behaviors quickly escalated into a maelstrom of accusations, trials, and executions. The very fabric of this small community, built on trust and shared beliefs, would be torn apart by suspicion, fear, and paranoia. The Salem witch trials stand as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked fear and the power of mass hysteria. Over 200 individuals, mostly women, were accused of witchcraft. 20 innocent souls were executed, their names forever etched in the annals of history as victims of a tragic miscarriage of justice. This is their story. A story of how quickly suspicion can morph into certainty, how easily accusations can shatter lives, and how profoundly fear can warp even the most devout communities. It is a story that continues to resonate centuries later, a chilling testament to the fragility of reason in the face of fear. The seeds of the Salem witch hunt were sown long before the first accusations. The Puritan settlers lived in a world steeped in religious piety and a profound fear of the devil. They believed in the constant presence of evil lurking in the shadows, ready to snatch away souls and sow discord among the faithful. The harsh realities of life in the New World only served to amplify these anxieties. Disease, crop failures, and conflicts with Native American tribes fueled a sense of vulnerability and a desperate need to find explanations for their hardships. In this climate of fear and uncertainty, whispers of witchcraft began to circulate. It started subtly, with strange illnesses, unusual behavior, and unexplained misfortunes. Then, in January of 1692, a group of young girls in Salem village began to exhibit bizarre fits and convulsions, accompanied by screams and contortions. These fits, unlike anything the community had witnessed before, defied medical explanation. The girls' affliction, whatever its true nature, ignited a firestorm of suspicion. With no rational explanation for the girls' torment, the community turned to the supernatural. Whispers of witchcraft, once hushed and speculative, grew louder, transforming from murmurs of concern into accusations that would irrevocably alter the course of Salem. While the Salem witch trials are often portrayed as a product of mere superstition, the reality is far more nuanced. A confluence of factors contributed to the eruption of this dark chapter, revealing the underlying tensions and anxieties that simmered beneath the surface of Puritan society. Political and economic instability played a significant role in fueling the flames of paranoia. Disputes over land, resources, and political power created divisions within the community, fostering resentment and distrust. These tensions, simmering beneath the surface, found an outlet in the accusations of witchcraft. Moreover, the strict social hierarchy of Puritan society exacerbated the vulnerability of certain groups, particularly women. Women who defied social norms, challenged authority, or were simply different in some way, were easy targets for accusations. Widows, those with property, and women on the fringes of society found themselves increasingly vulnerable as the trials progressed. The Salem witch trials were not merely a manifestation of religious extremism or blind superstition. They were a complex and tragic convergence of social, economic, and political factors, all amplified by a profound fear of the unknown and a desperate need to find scapegoats for a community grappling with its own internal demons. To understand the Salem witch trials, we must first delve into the minds of the people who lived through them, the Puritans. These were deeply religious people who had crossed the Atlantic Ocean to build a city on a hill, a shining example of righteous living. Their faith was absolute, their commitment to God unwavering. At the heart of Puritan belief lay a fundamental conviction, the existence of the devil. They believed he was real, active, and constantly seeking to corrupt their souls and destroy their community. This fear of the devil was not merely an abstract theological concern. It permeated every aspect of their lives. Everyday events, from illness and misfortune to bad weather and crop failures, were often attributed to the devil's influence. They believed he worked through witches, individuals who had made a pact with evil and used their supernatural powers to harm others. This constant vigilance against satanic forces created a climate of fear and suspicion. The Puritans placed immense importance on conformity and obedience. Any deviation from their strict moral code, be it in dress, behavior, or belief, was viewed with suspicion. This rigid social order, while intended to maintain purity and order, ironically created a breeding ground for accusations and persecution. The Puritans were not alone in their belief in witchcraft. It was a widespread phenomenon in 17th century Europe and America. However, their particular interpretation of witchcraft, shaped by their unique blend of theology and experience, played a crucial role in the events that unfolded in Salem. For the Puritans, witchcraft was not simply a matter of folk magic or superstition. It was a serious crime, a form of heresy that threatened the very fabric of their community and their covenant with God. They believed witches could inflict harm through a variety of supernatural means, from casting the evil eye to sending out their spirits to torment the innocent. The Puritans relied heavily on spectral evidence, the testimony of accusers who claimed to see the spirits or apparitions of witches attacking them. This type of evidence, based entirely on subjective experience, was highly unreliable and open to manipulation. Furthermore, the Puritans believed that the devil could not take on the form of an innocent person. Therefore, if an accuser claimed to have seen the spirit of a specific person attacking them, it was considered strong evidence of guilt. This belief, combined with the acceptance of spectral evidence, created a dangerous situation where accusations could easily lead to convictions. The Salem witch trials did not occur in a vacuum. They were deeply intertwined with the social, political, and economic anxieties of the time. Salem Village, in particular, was a community grappling with internal divisions and external pressures that created a fertile ground for suspicion and unrest. One significant source of tension was a series of disputes over land ownership and resources. The community was divided geographically and economically, with farmers on the outskirts of the village often at odds with the more prosperous merchants and landowners in the town centre. Adding to these internal divisions were external pressures from ongoing conflicts with Native American tribes on the frontier. These conflicts, marked by violence and fear, heightened the sense of vulnerability and fueled a siege mentality within the community. Furthermore, the political landscape of Massachusetts was in turmoil during this period. The colony had recently undergone a series of upheavals, including the revocation of its charter and the imposition of a new governor, Sir Edmund Andros, who was deeply unpopular with the Puritan population. These various factors, economic hardship, social divisions, political instability, and the constant threat of violence, created a climate of fear, uncertainty, and distrust. In this atmosphere of heightened anxiety, accusations of witchcraft provided a convenient outlet for long-simmering resentments and a way to make sense of the seemingly inexplicable. The physical landscape of colonial New England played a subtle yet significant role in shaping the anxieties that fueled the Salem witch trials. The Puritans lived on the edge of a vast and unfamiliar wilderness, a place they viewed as both alluring and terrifying. The forest represented both freedom and danger, a source of sustenance and a haven for wild animals, Native Americans, and, in their minds, the devil himself. This constant proximity to the unknown fed into their fears and heightened their sense of vulnerability. The harsh New England winters, with their long nights and isolating conditions, further contributed to a sense of unease. Confined to their homes, often struggling to survive the bitter cold and dwindling supplies, it was easy for imaginations to run wild and for fears of the supernatural to take hold. The landscape itself became a character in their narrative of fear. Every rustle in the woods, every unexplained sound, every shadow cast by the flickering candlelight could be interpreted as a sign of the devil's presence, fueling the belief that evil lurked just beyond the boundaries of their carefully constructed world. While the Salem witch trials are often seen as a singular event, a sudden eruption of mass hysteria, the reality is more complex. The ground was prepared for the accusations long before the first fits and screams erupted in Salem village. Earlier cases of witchcraft accusations in New England, while less widespread and deadly, provided a template for the events of 1692. In 1647, Alce Young of Windsor, Connecticut, became the first person executed for witchcraft in New England. Her case, followed by others in the ensuing decades, demonstrated the power of accusations and the willingness of communities to believe in the existence of witches among them. These earlier trials, while often ending in acquittal or banishment rather than execution, established a dangerous precedent. They normalized the language of accusation, the acceptance of spectral evidence, and the belief that the devil was actively working through witches to undermine their communities. The Salem witch trials did not emerge from a vacuum. They were the culmination of decades of anxieties, fears, and suspicions, fueled by religious fervor, social tensions, and a profound belief in the reality of witchcraft. The icy grip of winter had descended upon Salem village, blanketing the small community in silence. In a small home, young girls gathered, their laughter echoing in the firelight. But their games took a sinister turn, marking a dark chapter for Salem. Abigail Williams, the minister's niece, was the first to exhibit strange behavior. The girls contorted, suffered seizures, and cried out in pain. Fear rippled through the community, and whispers of witchcraft began to circulate. Suspicion fell upon Tituba, an enslaved woman, and Sarah Good, a beggar. Their arrests marked the opening act of a terrifying drama in Salem. Accusations in Salem spread like a virus, tearing apart families and friendships. The accused were a diverse group, united by misfortune. Women like Sarah Good defied social norms. Respected figures like Rebecca Nurse were not spared. Young women and girls became central accusers. Their fits and trances were seen as evidence. The motivations of the accusers remained debated. Were they truly afflicted or seeking attention? Some suggest mass hysteria or deliberate deception. Their testimony held immense sway in court. Accusations fueled by fear and suspicion had devastating consequences. With accusations mounting, the Court of Oyer and Terminer was established in May 1692. Judges, influenced by prevailing beliefs, presided over flawed trials. Spectral evidence, based on visions of spirits, played a central role. This subjective evidence sealed the fate of many accused. Defendants faced grueling interrogations and psychological pressure. Innocent defendants, like Rebecca Nurse, faced skepticism and condemnation. Confessors were treated with more leniency. Sarah Good's case was particularly chilling. Her 4-year-old daughter testified against her. Dorothy's coerced testimony contributed to her mother's conviction. Trials confirmed pre-existing beliefs, not justice. Judges, influenced by fear, and ministers like Cotton Mather presumed guilt. Their minds were made up before the first witness took the stand. As the summer of 1692 wore on, fear and despair settled over Salem. The trials continued unabated, fueled by accusations, confessions, and condemnations. On June 10th, Bridget Bishop was hanged on Gallows Hill, marking a turning point. Over the next few months, 19 more innocent souls met their end. The executions serve as a stark reminder of the human cost of fear and intolerance. As the trials peaked, cracks appeared in the fear and paranoia gripping Salem. Doubts about the validity of the accusations and the court's methods surfaced. Influential figures like Governor Phipps and Increase Mather expressed reservations. In October 1692, Governor Phipps halted the trials and dissolved the Court of Oyer and Terminer. The new court acquitted many, while others had their convictions overturned. A community divided. The fracturing of Salem, the trials created a climate of fear and distrust, tearing apart families and friendships. Children testified against parents, wives against husbands, siblings against one another. The trials exacerbated existing social divisions, targeting the marginalized. Even after the trials, the scars of division lingered. The sense of shared purpose and communal identity was irrevocably broken. Beyond Salem's borders, repercussions across New England. News of the trials spread rapidly, carrying fear and cautionary tales. Some communities saw a surge in accusations, while others pushed back against spectral evidence. The Salem experience prompted legal reforms, emphasizing tangible evidence. The lessons learned helped shape a more cautious approach to witchcraft accusations. The seeds of doubt, shifting perspectives on witchcraft. The trials forced people to confront the possibility that something had gone terribly wrong. Ministers and scholars began to question the court's methods and the validity of the accusations. Increase Mather's treatise challenged the use of spectral evidence and urged caution. The Salem experience highlighted the importance of due process and tangible evidence. Justice delayed, justice denied, attempts at atonement and reparation. Many accusers recanted their testimonies, acknowledging their mistakes. In 1702, the Massachusetts General Court declared the trials unlawful. In 1711, the colony passed an act reversing the attainders and granting financial restitution. The legacy of the trials serves as a reminder of the importance of vigilance against injustice. Legal and judicial reforms, shifting sands of justice. The trials served as a catalyst for legal and judicial reforms. The use of spectral evidence came under intense scrutiny. The Salem experience highlighted the dangers of unsubstantiated accusations and coerced confessions. These reforms led to a greater emphasis on physical evidence and due process. The enduring shadow witch hunts in a new light. The Salem trials remind us that witch hunts are rarely about actual witchcraft. They often channel fear and resentment towards perceived threats. The term witch hunt has become synonymous with persecution based on unfounded accusations. The trials taught us that anyone can become a target, regardless of innocence or guilt. Salem's literary legacy, from historical accounts to artistic explorations. The trials have inspired countless works of literature, theatre, film and art. Arthur Miller's The Crucible drew parallels between Salem and the McCarthy era. Films, documentaries and TV shows continue to dramatize the events, ensuring the lessons are not forgotten. Remembering Salem, a timeless warning against intolerance and fear. The trials serve as a cautionary tale about the human capacity for cruelty and mass hysteria. The legacy of Salem is a reminder that the fight for justice and tolerance is ongoing. By remembering Salem, we can better understand the present and work towards a just future. The lessons urge us to be vigilant against persecution and champion justice and reason. Beyond Salem's shadow, embracing reason and safeguarding justice. The Salem witch trials stand as a stark monument to the perils of unchecked fear and intolerance. In the aftermath, remorse and a desire for atonement swept through Massachusetts. The legal system underwent reforms, discrediting spectral evidence. The principles of due process gained greater prominence. The Salem experience contributed to a more just legal system, emphasizing reason and evidence. By remembering Salem, we honor the victims and commit to a just world. We ensure the mistakes of history are not repeated and justice prevails.